it's hard for me to not look for darker, deeper sides of things. It's hard for me to not be like, okay, what's the shadow part of this? What is the trauma-based part of this? What is something, I'm always trying to peel back the layer to see the truth underneath things, but I'm oftentimes looking for the heavier side, the darker side, instead of sometimes I think the truth of what I'm peeling back is like, hey, maybe that was just a really joyful time of your life. Maybe that was just a period of your life where you were really happy and getting to experience new things and try new things and do new things and have this kind of like opportunity to be, to figure out who I am. And that honestly seems scarier than trauma.
We'll make it out in falling love tonight.
There's a big fear that I have, and I'm just going to say it up front, babe, is that suddenly we're going to start talking about pickleball too much, and then everybody's going to be like, why are they obsessed with pickleball? We are obsessed with pickleball. I'm obsessed. You're obsessed, I hope, right?
Yeah.
Like, there's definitely a part of me that's fearful, and you're just going to be like, yeah, I love pickleball. I don't really like pickleball. You do, though, right?
Up till now, I'm really, really enjoying it.
You're
I'm not
holding on.
committed for the rest of my
Right.
life because I have commitment phobias. However, I did say I wanted a pickleball court at our house.
That's true.
So
If you are a manufacturer of pickleball courts and you want to come over to our house and make one, that would be awesome. How cool would that be?
that would be cool.
Right? That would be amazing.
That would be cool. Or it would be terrible because then we would never leave our house.
Then this might legitimately become a podcast all about pickleball. But
the pickleball and couple.
We're going to talk about it today, but it's through the lens of but we're big believers in the idea that if it's on your path, it's for your path. I'm sure you've probably heard us say that before. And we truthfully believe it. Like it's not just a mantra. It's not just something that we tell ourselves to kind of feel good about, the experiences that we have, but it's legitimately the thing that we operate off of. It kind of drives the focus of our life because every time something comes up, and pickleball kind of just came up in our life and in our space. It wasn't something that we were really looking for or seeking out, but it has come up in our life, entered into our space, and now it's become part of this journey that we're experiencing that is truthfully helping us heal different parts of ourselves. And that's what we're going to talk about today and get into, because pickleball can be replaced with anything, right? So even if you're not a fan of pickleball or you're not playing pickleball right now, you definitely should. We highly recommend it. It doesn't necessarily mean that this isn't applicable because a lot of things in our life have been pickleball, right? We had yoga for a long time.
Okay.
Where
I was like, no, this is my first time. What are you talking about? We've never
but
I got you.
Yeah, it's the stuff that comes up into your life that suddenly changes your life, right? And I want to talk today about what changes we've experienced in truthfully a short amount of time from our experience with pickleball.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
One of the big things for me that I'm noticing is how beautifully it's coinciding with like inner teenage work. So right now I feel like I'm super deep in the processing of inner Craig from the perspective of like probably like 14 to 18, right? I don't feel like 13-year-old Craig, maybe, I don't know. But it's a lot of what I'm working on right now is healing and working with that part of me. I've done a lot of inner child work with earlier versions, 5, 6, 7 years old. And it all blends, of course, right? Because you know this too, right? Where I'm also doing a lot of like 7-year-old Craig work right now, where there's so many different things that are coming up for me that are in that space. But a big chunk of the work that I'm doing right now individually in my own personal journey is this teenage stuff, where I'm processing through those time periods of my life with stuff like music. Music's been really big. Friends and friendships, right? That was a time period in my life where I was really focused on friends. Obviously, I think everybody in their teenage years are, right? It's when you start to probably shift from family to friends. And so that's a big part of what's coming up for me. And the reason pickleball is so beautifully kind of like on that path for me is because I grew up playing tennis. And I had that chunk of my life from, it was basically high school. I played before that. I mean, I remember playing tennis all the way back with my brothers way back when I was little, right?
Like, how old do you remember?
I mean, that would have been 6, 7, 8-year-old, 9-year-old.
Little.
Yeah. We used to go down to the elementary school that was just down the street from our house and take like my mom's old wooden tennis rackets that were super old school, like really old tennis rackets. And we'd go down to the courts there and hit up against the wall or something like that. And then I got serious about playing tennis when I was in high school. And it signified a shift in almost identity for me, because I'll get into it, but that's why it's been really interesting to see how suddenly now a sport that involves some form of paddle and or racket, has entered into my life again. And it's kind of wonky. Like, it's thrown me for a loop, all the things that are happening. Like, for example, I have a best friend growing up. His name's Alan. Shout out to Alan if you're listening to the podcast. And Alan has been like my friend since first grade. One of my earliest friends is this guy, and we're still friends today. And we grew up playing tennis together and used to play a lot of tennis together in high school and, all those kind of things. And just the other day when we were out on the pickleball courts, because we're meeting a lot of people, one of the guys that we met, his name's Alan. So at some point I'm sitting there playing on the same side of the court with Alan, hitting balls back and forth. It was really, really cool.
Yeah, that's really neat.
Yeah.
That's really neat. I'm trying to it's surprising of how you have all these connections and all these correlations that for you, it feels like it was a natural progression to here we are playing pickleball. It's interesting. It's interesting. I wasn't I still want to keep hearing about yours, but I don't have all of that. I'm only playing pickleball because you said in a pool, here we go, let's start a pickleball league.
Right.
I'm only playing because it was your idea.
I might have been high at the time.
There's
a good chance that we were at the pool party with all the friends, and I might have definitely been high at the time.
Everybody was playing a game of 500, and you're like, yeah, let's play pickleball or something. I don't know how it came about, but all of a sudden you were starting a league. We're all in the pool, and I'm like, I guess, here we go. Pickleball is coming in the future, but
Baby, you're my ride or die.
I am,
right?
Because I was
cool, pickleball.
Here, yeah, that's what. All right, yeah, let's play pickleball.
Well, it's on your path now, babe.
Yeah,
and
I'm so glad I didn't poo-poo it.
Right.
I'm so glad that I can be yeah, I'll play with you, of course. We'll do this thing, but all of my preconceived notions about pickleball didn't influence that, or my fear of playing in front of people and sports in front of people. I'm so glad that it didn't influence it, and that you started this so I could get it, because I would have never been it sounds like a good idea, it sounds like fun, how I want to spend 5 days a week. I want to play pickleball.
Yeah,
it never would have happened without you.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful that you're willing to join on the pickleball train and be down for it. But I want to hear.
Get me off the train now.
I want to hear what you've experienced so far.
What I've experienced so far.
Yeah, because I've got a big, long story around, like I was saying, right, the teenage years and what's coming up for me through the process of getting back into this sport. And when I say getting back into this sport, again, I played tennis. It's very different than pickleball. I know there's people out there that are they're not the same thing. There's going to be staunch people on both sides of it, right?
Yeah.
And they're totally not the same thing. I get it. However, and because we're also watching a lot of professional pickleball right now, a lot of professional pickleball players started off playing tennis. Right. It's been around for a long time.
I didn't know that.
But it was in the far reaches of, the corner. It hasn't been mainstream for a long time. So there's not a lot of people that grew up playing pickleball. There's probably going to be now, right? In the next 10 or 15 years, you're going to have kids that grew up playing pickleball that are just going to be monsters on the court. However, it crosses over from tennis really, really well.
Yeah.
And so all the things that I've experienced from tennis are now coming across and really working out most of the time. They're working out mostly for pickleball. But what was I saying? I don't remember what I was saying.
Oh, you were talking about how it's really affecting your teenage years.
Yes,
and
yeah. So much of this stuff is coming up for me because it's so similar to what I went through, right? And even before we started this pickleball experience, I was already processing a lot of teenage stuff. It's been in my space. It's been something that I've been working through. And that's important, I think, to note, because at least how we see things, we see again, if it's on your path, it's for your path. But when it comes to inner child healing and inner teenage healing, however you want to verbalize it or articulate it, right? Oftentimes what's happening is, at least for me, I'll go through these phases where I have chunks of time where I'm ruminating, thinking, processing, remembering, having dreams. Like my energy is in a space of kind of unpacking chunks of time in my life. And right now, for the last, 6-8 months, it's been that chunk of time. It's been from 15 to 19. It's like there's so much stuff that happened during that time period of my life that I'm starting to feel my way through. And because tennis was such a big part of my life, I played high school tennis all 4 years. It was the thing that we did a lot. And so it was a huge chunk of life for me during that time period. And I haven't ever fully gone through and processed through all of the emotions of all of it, all of the different things. There were so many things, like when I really started to think about it and really started to sit with it, it's like, oh, that time period, like that version of Craig, 14-year-old Craig, 15-year-old Craig, was really struggling, like really, really struggling with a lot of different things. And so a lot of stuff's coming up for me, and it's hard and it's not easy. And then at the same time, I don't even remember how long this has been, but one of the things, and you know this because obviously you're my wife, but I'm journaling every morning, and a part of that journaling process is what we call it scripting. It's a scripting process, and it's a technique that we picked up from our yoga teachers. And it's just basically writing out a script about, what would you say, babe? Like how you want the world to go, how you want your life to go. It's kind of manifesting. It's kind of like in that same mindset.
Yeah, it's like you're writing it as it's true, as it's already happened. It's already taken place. You already have it. It's already here. You're writing as you're experiencing it.
Yeah.
Like how you, yeah.
Yeah. So mine is, I'm joyful and full of gratitude now that my body is in the best shape of my life. And we talk a lot on this podcast about the emotional work that we've done, the shadow work that we've done, all of this kind of inner work and healing and unpacking of trauma and everything like that. We don't often talk about the physical side of what that looks like, the healing experience of the physical body. And trauma for me has just been packed onto my body in so many different ways. Like it's not just with weight, it's with injury, it's with pain, it's with all these different things that I've had to endure over the years of my life, right? And in order for me to, like, another level of healing for me is this healing process of like, okay, I want my physical body to be in the absolute best shape that it can be, because my mental health, my emotional health, my spiritual health is also getting to that phase. So I'm scripting this because that's where I'm going and that's where I'm heading to, right? But when I started scripting that, my physical body is going to be in the best shape of my life. My body is going to be in the best shape of my life. It definitely wasn't. And it's still not. But I started to put it out there. And then I had the realization of like, I'm going to have to do more than just write this down. I'm going to actually have to do something about that, right? Enter in pickleball.
Right. That's a part of it. It's not, that's a part of it. You're having, saying I'm so joyful and full of gratitude now that my body's in the best shape of my life. It's, it's not make a wish. It's like you're putting it into action, like it's already there, which means you are healthy, which means you are physical, which means so now you're feeling these things come up. It's because that is you taking action. It's all that way. So it's just, I love that you're I don't know. It's just really beautiful.
Yeah. It feels beautiful at times, and it's also super hard.
Yeah.
Right. My body is worn down from life. Like I'm 43 years old, right? I've got a lot of pain and injuries in my joints. Pickleball is highlighting all of them. Jiu-jitsu also does a beautiful job of highlighting all of them. And my typical MO for moving forward in life is to just continue regardless, just keep going no matter what. And I'm having to really look at that because things aren't the same that they used to be. Like I can't, it takes me a minute to get out of bed in the mornings. It takes me a minute to go to bed at night. It's a challenge. And you and I joke about this a lot, but I'm not in the space, like I'm not interested in shifting up my mindset to where it's like, like I don't complain a lot about that. I don't complain a lot about my injuries or how difficult it is, because I'm not spending bandwidth and energy focusing on those things. Instead, it's the complete opposite, where I'm heading in the direction of the best shape of my life. All of these things that are happening right now are for my benefit, are to take me to that next spot, to the next place. And I'm noticing how the more, because I remember this all that, like, this is where we're going to start getting into stuff, because over the years I've had varying time periods in my life where I would quote unquote get really healthy physically. My physical body would become what I would deem far more healthier. But looking back, I recognized that those time periods were not at all healthy. I was really, really hard on my body and pushing it to extremes. I was taking things like fasting and all of these other kind of concepts that are set up to, help you maximize this, that, and the other, and just pushing all of it to the furthest extreme that I possibly could, because I was running from something. And this time, meaning this experience that I'm going through right now, that is kind of culminating over the last year or so, is me trying to do health and trying to do physical health in a much different way. So I'm noticing that I have to really look at what's taking place, but then I also have to understand that I'm not 20 years old, or I'm not, 16-year-old Craig playing tennis. And it's hard, but it's also possible, or at least it feels possible. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it makes total sense. I'm relating with everything you're saying with that. And also like struggling like the same with that body perspective when I've had a lot of pictures coming up, how Facebook does the memories.
Yeah.
And it's like just popping these pictures up, and here I was with a small body, also not really realizing I had a small body then, just felt like I was fit, I was thin, I was like I thought, but I was also really unhealthy. I was depriving my body, I was punishing my body, I was hurting my body a lot, but it was okay because I was the worth wasn't within or how, it was what
right, your
was
physical
like,
appearance.
it was the outside. So I was just finding all the ways to try and make myself happy, but it was just like I was in so much pain. I was in so much pain, and that's like it happens. It's weird. It's like whenever it's like stress hits my face hard, right? It hits my face, it hits my body. You can see when I'm stressed, but that happens for a minute. And then it's like this thing happens to where it starts to transform. Like the times that I've looked the best in my life, I've been
kind of the most
unhealthy and just crushed inside, but nobody knew.
Right.
And boy, could I put on that everything's fine. Look, I'm fine. So I'm relating with that. And I had to let that go to start like working on the inside, to start really like helping all of this, start facing things, start dealing with things. And I could not focus if I cared about, like, I could not take time to worry about the outside. I had to like jump ship on that in order to heal. And I'm not healed. I'm not saying like I healed, but to like, I had to get right inside. I had to focus on me. I had to start getting healthy inside. And now I'm like, okay, now I'm like the same with you. I'm at that point where, okay, body, like it's time. And it's hard to not look at it and be like, what did you do? What did you do? And start those cycles where I'm like, I just spent years working on that. Like, it's okay. So feeling that relates. I relate to that a lot of ways of like seeing and ready to change that, ready to shift that up.
I think about this all the time because I'm always processing things through this perspective of like, obviously I'm judging and criticizing the outside world around me, but sometimes it's not necessarily judgment or criticism. I'm looking at other people and then I'm comparing myself to them, right? Mm-hmm. And you'll see somebody that is, you know, like right now, 40-year-old men, a lot of 40-year-old men are like in the best shape of their life. Mm-hmm. And I see myself and I compare myself to that. And I'm like, I'm not there. But what I don't see, and of course we never see this, right? I'm always using it, you know, like you see it on social media or whatever. So you don't ever really know the true story of it. But I think the reality is there's all of these levels of healing that we have to kind of manage. And it is the physical part of us. It's the mental part of us. It's the emotional part. It's the spiritual part. It's all of these different layers that make up us as a human that we have to pay attention to and acknowledge. Because like we just said, right, we've had periods of our life where we were physically on the outside appeared to be really healthy and in shape, but on the inside, just chaos. And I don't think you and I are so externally, outwardly, physically out of shape, right? I don't look at us and think, oh my God, what's going on with those two? I don't think that at all. But I also recognize that, quote unquote, we could be in better physical shape. Yeah. And at this point too, it has nothing to do with how, yes, I want to look better, but I want to feel better. I want to feel more comfortable. I want to be stronger so that I can continually do the things that I want to do. I want to be able to live this really active life that you and me are creating together, right? So that's the priority. That's where I want to focus. That's where I want to be. But at the same time, I don't think, had I not done the work to get myself mentally and emotionally prepared to process certain things that are connected to my physical body. Like there's this weird thing where I've had to process a lot of things emotionally, traumas and things like that. But the physical things that have happened to my body, what my body has had to go through, what it's done, what I've done to it, all of this kind of stuff is what I'm starting to recognize and start to process now, because I do think it's directly correlated and connected to how my physical body shows up and how I connect with it and how I feel about my physical body. Does that make sense?
It makes total sense. Yeah, it makes total sense. There's so much, like I want to say, remind me cocoon.
Won't be hard.
Won't be hard, right? Remind me cocoon.
We're playing pickleball with a bunch of like senior citizens, so it totally feels like cocoon. Totally feels like
because they're like in the pool with the cocoons and getting all that youth. They're just like, they're out there doing it. They're doing it.
Yeah, these people are playing pickleball like multiple days a week for hours at a time. In August in Tennessee, where it's 90 plus degrees outside sometimes and the humidity is like through the roof. And by the time we're finished with, 2 hours of pickleball, we come home and we're like dead for the rest of the day. We're like, what is going on with these old people? It's definitely a cocoon situation. But anyways.
Yeah. So that still, I need you to remind me.
Okay. Mental note. Cocoon.
What I was, if I can remember, oh my gosh, I just lost it. So the feeling of the body, like, yeah, we're not like, I understand we're not in terrible shape. And there's still like, we're still very like mobile and agile. We have, we're in a really healthy, it's a space that is farther than we want to be, but we're not like, we're doing good. We're still, and I don't know, maybe that's a terrible way to say it. It's probably because I'm all twisted up right now trying to remember these things. So I'm feeling stronger than, and feeling like, because I've worked on the inside, that when I see the outside, sometimes it's like, oh, because I'm feeling so much better inside that
It's not quite matching.
It's not quite matching. And that's awesome because it's always been the flip, right? The flip, the unhealthy version. I'm like, oh, I'm feeling healthier. I'm feeling better. That's definitely the direction I want to go. And that is absolutely like going to fuel that. That's going to fuel that. I want to make these changes in a healthy way. I want to be healthy. I don't want to just look like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
People think I don't want to you get on a scale and what the scale says, they determine your health. And that's bullshit. Because I get on a scale now and they're going to be like, you're not doing so good. I'm like, actually, I'm great. I'm feeling amazing. I'm healing. I'm able to work through really hard things. I'm taking care of myself. I matter. I'm not hurting myself. Am I still struggling with life's ups and downs because we're human? Yes. But overall, my mental well-being, my mental health, my physical, my emotional, all of that, I'm doing amazing. And before when I would get on the scale, they would be like, you're looking good. I'm like, I'm fucking dying inside. You know, I don't know how I'm doing any of this. I'm not good at all, but thank you for letting me know that I've checked that box. So that scale, like you used to be a advocate for throwing the scale away.
I still am.
And yes, you still are.
I haven't stepped on a scale in years.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember the last time I stepped on a scale because I had that awareness where it was like, I've never, ever stepped on a scale and had a positive experience. It was never the thing where I was like, oh, that's amazing. That's exactly the number that I wanted to see. And now I feel so much better about myself.
Mm-hmm.
I might have seen the number that I was shooting for and that I wanted to see, but that didn't mean that I felt better.
You would always move it too, I think. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah.
I would.
It was always just like, well, that's great, but not enough still, or I'm still not there. Or oftentimes it wasn't the number, right?
Mm-hmm.
It was still 5 more pounds or 10 more pounds, or the opposite is, are you serious? That's where I'm at right now. And then enter in devastation and depression and guilt and shame and everything else. So I've never had the opportunity to step on a scale and be like, oh, my life's immediately better and I feel so much better about myself. It's always shit. And it was like, I don't remember, it's been a couple of years, right? Where I'm just like, I'm done. There's no reason for me to ever step on a scale again. It has never told me anything other than I'm not, like, I don't feel good about myself.
Yeah. Yeah. So you would tell me to quit getting on the scale and throw the scale away, quit getting on the scale. And I was like, are you crazy? Do you know what's going to happen if I don't get on that scale? I used to, like in my worst, I would weigh myself multiple times a day. First thing I would do is I would get up, go to the bathroom and weigh myself. And then it did not stop. I weighed myself over and over and over and over and over again. And it was determining my next action. It was determining like so many things, like what I chose to do next in the healthy, unhealthy ways. There was not really healthy ways. You know, I would have healthy intentions, but it would always, you know, it determined my self-worth. It determined how mean I was to myself. Everything was like, I would just weigh myself over and over and over again. And then I thought I was doing good when it was just once a day. You know, once a day, I'm like, okay. And it didn't matter where the numbers were because it would either be there's something wrong, you're terrible, or if I happened to hit the numbers that I was going at, which I did frequently, it was like it didn't matter because that was now the gross point and I should be here. So even when I reached my goals through the unhealthy way, it was just you're still this, you don't look any better. It's still this, now you need to be here. So it was always this thing. And I thought if I didn't weigh myself that I would like, it's going to be an ultimate disaster.
Yeah.
It's everything's. And I stopped weighing myself also because the numbers kept getting worse. And I'm like, I don't like how this feels. I'm working on my self-worth. And when the numbers are making me feel worse, it's like, this isn't helping. And I would stop. And sometimes I would get back on and be like, okay, we're still in this range. Okay. And then it would be like, over here. I'm like, whoo. And then once I decided, oh gosh, it was probably because the scale made it with us from our move.
It made the move to Tennessee.
But I didn't use it hardly. And every once in a while I would.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to where like I actually went to like the doctor in Utah before we left, and I did something I'd never done. I was like, I got on, I closed my eyes, and I said, do not tell me that number. I don't need to know it. And when I got on it here, the battery was dead. And then I was like, okay, I hear you, universe. Now we've replaced the batteries and the scale didn't work. I'm like, okay. And
let's throw that thing away. Doesn't sound like it works anymore, right?
It's thrown away.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, that's my point. It's like, I agreed with you, and I was like, it stopped being a benefit. It stopped helping, and I started seeing that, and I started feeling better about myself when I stopped measuring myself by that number.
That's awesome, babe.
And now I get to feel this. And so the cocoon part, which will tie us back into our pickleball peeps, is like, that's kind of what it feels like we've been doing. Is we just like went in, we wrapped ourselves up in just all of this and went in and have been healing and transforming and working on all this stuff. And now we get to come out and be. And I don't know what that looks like.
So if you haven't heard yet, we picked up pickleball and we're having a blast. It's super, super fun. And if you haven't started playing yet, I hope that you do soon. And if you do, we want to help you by avoiding what we did. See, when we started playing pickleball, we just went on Amazon and found some paddles that looked cool. Little did we know, but they actually were hurting our pickleball game and holding us back from being the absolute best pickleball players that we could be. And when we found out that there was a pickleball paddle company here in Tennessee, actually not too far from where we live, we got super excited. Element 6 was started by a couple of brothers who were passionate about the sport and decided to go in and make their own paddles because they needed something that served their purposes a little bit better. Lucky for us, they're now sponsoring the podcast. And I can tell you from experience that their paddles definitely make a difference. The very first time I picked up their paddle and just held it in my hand, I knew I was going to be a better pickleball player as soon as I started playing with it. And it turns out I totally am. They have paddles for everybody, for the beginner, the intermediate, and the pro level. Go to e6pickleball.com and check out their paddles. I highly recommend their brand new one, the Torrent, which is what we play with. When you're ready to buy, make sure to use the code Steph Craig. Not only will you save 10%, but the guys over at E6 are also going to send you out a free gift along with your order. So pick up pickleball, pick up a new paddle from Element 6. We hope to see you on the court soon. Not too long ago, I went down the rabbit hole of trying to find us some new clothes that didn't have all sorts of toxic stuff in them. I was tired of wearing synthetic material when I worked out, when I did things like jiu-jitsu and yard work and hiking and everything like that, because it wasn't really breathable and it started to stink a lot as well. Well, lucky for me, I found Woolly clothing. Woolly uses natural merino wool, and I'm a huge fan. All of their clothes are super soft and they feel really, really good next to your skin. Their clothes are naturally moisture repellent, so when you're wearing them and working out, it almost feels like it's cooling you off. They're also odor resistant, so they don't stink after you wear them. They have a great line of men and women's clothing, and if you've never tried merino wool, I highly recommend Woolly. I've got their boxers on right now. Every episode of the podcast, I wear one of their V-neck shirts. I'm really excited for when the weather starts to change and it starts to cool off a little bit, because then I get to put on my Woolly hoodie again. Go check them out. Their website is woolly.clothing. That's WOOLLY.clothing. And when you're ready to check out, be sure to use the code Steph Craig. You'll save 15% on your order. Again, it's woolly.clothing, Steph Craig. Show them some love and get yourself a great pair of merino wool socks or underwear, or boxers, shirts, pants, shorts, tank tops, workout gear, you name it. Woolly has it.
I don't know what that looks like, but I feel like it's going to be good, whether regardless of what size pants we fit into, what size. I'm just ready for joints to not hurt playing pickleball. I'm ready for the to feel like I think they look, you know what I mean? Feel that agile, feel that. Yeah.
Yeah, it's going to happen. Like I said, we've only been playing for a few weeks, right? It's totally going to happen. We're going to get into pickleball shape and get stronger and everything like that. And it'll be easier for us, right? That's definitely going to happen. But I like that idea. I like that metaphor because it is what it feels like. I've been thinking a lot about how, and we've been talking a lot about how we're not just more active in a sense, right? But we're more involved with our life right now than I think we ever have been before. Meaning we're engaged with, you know, living and doing things and leaving the house and trying to find new experiences and going towards new things and meeting new people and all of this kind of stuff that we've been doing. I feel like the reasons we didn't do it in the past, I was talking to a friend the other night at jiu-jitsu, and it was, community is really, really hard to do when you're in a trauma response, when you're healing, when you're activated, when you're always afraid. It's hard to be around other people and in a group of people and in a community of people, because community is kind of messy. It's kind of hard, right? You have to be able to interact with different people that you might not necessarily feel 100% comfortable with. Like, community takes a lot of boundaries. You have to have really good boundaries in order to be able to be interacting with people. Otherwise, the messiness of other people kind of get on you because you don't have good boundaries. And I think subconsciously or consciously, or who knows, right? Because our boundaries sucked so bad and we sucked at being able to kind of protect ourselves, we just avoided interacting with people. We just avoided going out and doing things. And so I can see over the course of our life and our relationship together where we were part of different communities, right? We've had all of these kind of different groups of friends and interactions and things that we would be involved with, but we were always kind of on the outside of them. We weren't really involved in the communities that we were a part of. And I do think it's because of this. I think it's because we were healing, and I think it's because we didn't have good boundaries, and I think it's because we were hurting and all of these other kind of things. And now I think we've done enough healing to where we have enough boundaries set up to protect ourselves. We have enough ability to kind of navigate those uncomfortable spaces of being in community with other people. And it doesn't always feel like 100% safe, but at the same time, it feels safe enough, and we're taking steps to keep ourselves safe. But it also, we're reaping the massive benefits. Like, there's this whole other flip side of being in community with people that we didn't get, which is like all the awesomeness, all the oxytocin, all the good stuff of being able to hang out with friends and meet new people and have new experiences and get to interact with new people. And that I'm really grateful for. Like, I'm grateful that we've done enough healing to get to this phase where suddenly we're playing pickleball 3 days a week with a bunch of people that we've never met before, doing a bunch of stuff that we've never done before, and reaping the benefits of all of it in a really positive way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really fascinating. It's really fascinating how it all came to be. It's really fascinating how it's here. It's like, first of all, like, the fact that I love it so much is just
Yeah, you've
incredible.
never done any sports before.
Right? This is my
You're
first
not, yeah.
thing experiencing that. I didn't have anything to go off of, but I was always like, it's just a really unique experience. And I'm like, there's things that I'm working on with my like teenage self coming up as well. Because like, this is like in your high school years is where like the teams, you know, if there is that, that's where it's kind of a big deal. I didn't do any of that. I was a part of a different team, you know, I did, but wasn't really a team, you know, I didn't get that. And I don't know how to do it. I'm like, it feels like, you know, it's unique because everybody is so kind and so helpful and willing to teach, even though, you know, sometimes there's like, it's just such a really beautiful environment that I'm having a blast messing up all the time. I'm working. It's funny. I used to apologize for everything and like, sorry. Everything was just a sorry. And I've worked really hard on that. Once I had, like, that took me a long time to realize I wasn't, you know, that was a trauma response. That was, everything was my fault. And then it hit this thing where I realized I'm sorry for existing. You know, somebody's walking and I happen to get in their way and I'd be like, sorry. And like, I'm still, you know, there's still a lot of work, but I was apologizing for my existence. How dare I be in your way? How dare I take up space? How dare I do something wrong? How dare, you know, all of this. So it's been a really big deal to heal that and not apologize every breath, you know, not have a defensive mechanism. I'm sorry, you know, trying to not be hurt. And I can't stop saying sorry on the court. Every time I miss it, I'm like, sorry, you know, and I'm hearing it and I'm working on it. And they're so nice. They're like, no sorries here. And I couldn't stop apologizing. It made it worse. She's like, you don't have to say sorry. I'm like, I know I know I say it a lot. I'm really trying not to. I don't want to apologize for everything. I'm trying not to. And it keeps coming out. So, and then she quit telling me to stop saying sorry. But it was just like, I'm not afraid to mess up. Thank goodness, because I am all over the place. I am just like, I tried to turn to hit the ball thinking I could just like, my mind says, we can do this, body. And my legs are like, we forgot to move. And like tie myself up in a little pretzel going for the ball. I'm having a great time. And I'm catching myself, like I'm getting a lot of practice on not apologizing. I'm seeing the little me that would have had so much fun having an experience like this that now I get to. And it's like, I cannot believe how much fun it is. And like, I don't know when we'll start talking about like what's happening with our bodies and like how
what are we waiting for?
Helpful. Right?
Let's talk about what's happening with our bodies.
For me, you have to tell yours, but for me, yes, I'm hurting. My joints are like, they're like, girl, what are you doing? What are we just like, we do this now. We jump around a court for hours, multiple times a week. Yes, we do. But it's just taking that little bit to where, okay, we're figuring things out. They don't have that kind of movement. But it feels like even though it kicks my butt at night, it kicks my butt and I'm feeling a lot of pain because it's like, it's only been a couple of weeks. They don't have their mobility back. I'm feeling better. I am getting sunlight like hours at a time. My sleep schedule is shifting. I'm waking up early on purpose. And my body is demanding that we go to bed at a better time. So, and I'm actually like sleeping through the night better. Right. I'm getting sleep.
That is such a huge deal.
Yeah.
Like we started prioritizing our sleep this year. We got new beds, all of those kind of things. Like it's the whole thing of like the importance of getting quality sleep. And now we are prioritizing that, like creating the perfect environment for both of us to get the most sleep that we possibly can because of how important it is. And you struggle with that a ton. And it's not me being like, oh, Stephanie, you need to do better. But I think it's amazing that this is an added benefit that, you know, we didn't even think about or think, you know, it's not like we were starting to play pickleball and get outside and do all of these things because we knew that it was going to help you sleep. Turns out it's helping you sleep, right? Especially during this time with like perimenopause and all the other things that you have going on. Yeah. I think it's awesome.
Yeah, it's been intense. Sleep has not been like the perimenopause sleep has not been my friend. Sleep has been something that, you know, it's very it doesn't matter because what it is now is I'm actually getting sleep. I'm sleeping sounder. I'm sleeping through the night. I'm actually feeling refreshed when I wake up, except for today we chose to, but I get up at like 5:23 every morning. I'm not an alarm person. I'm not a morning person. Well, I guess I am now, but I'm feeling refreshed when I wake up. There's times when I'm feeling refreshed. I'm feeling like that thing that happens when you go to sleep so your body can rest and then you can wake up and feel refreshed. I'm like, oh, that's not a myth. Like I'm actually feeling that. And my stomach's doing better. My stomach has been having a really, really hard time and my belly's doing better. I'm not having as much acid reflux. I also stopped drinking one of the energy drinks to keep me going because I couldn't maintain throughout the day because I'm not sleeping. So I was constantly drinking energy. But I stopped that and all the movement and the sun. I don't know, the laughter. I have fun out there. I go out there it's not just exercising. I am laughing and I am having fun for hours in the sun and I can sleep lying flat. Like we have those fun beds, which are great, those adjustables, because I was choking at night. I had to sleep. I'm like, come on, I'm too young for this shit. And I'm like, oh, we're always too young for this shit. Yeah. We're always too young for this shit. But now I'm sleeping flat. I'm sleeping better. I'm feeling my body, like I'm not seeing any changes. Like it's not like suddenly I don't put on these pair of pants and be like, oh, look at how they're fitting a little loose. I'm not seeing any difference. But I'm feeling more comfortable in my skin. I'm just feeling better. I'm just feeling better. And I'm like, holy shit, who would have thought?
Yeah, I think it's so fascinating because, I mean, that alone and what you just got done talking about and describing, it's not unique to pickleball, right? It's not like suddenly this is the diagnosis.
It might be like if you're go play pickleball. It might be.
That's the thing that I think is unique about it is all the other ways. I mean, there's so many ways to get exercise. There's so many ways to get active. There's so many ways to go outside and get the fresh air and get the movement and do all of those things. And we all know what they are.
Yeah. But if you're not having fun, it's hard. Like
that's what I'm saying is like there's something about the idea of doing this thing with other people, having fun, laughing, being outside, all of that kind of stuff is, I think, at least for us, that's what we need.
Yeah.
I feel like that's what we both need. I know for me personally, like working out, going to the gym, running, doing all of this kind of solo work by myself to try to stay in shape is incredibly difficult for me. It's something that I've never enjoyed. I don't like doing it. You know that. We got the membership at Planet Fitness and I don't like going. I don't like doing things by myself. I love doing things in a team and with other people, community. I love exercising and working out in that capacity. That's why I love jiu-jitsu, because it's this interaction with other people, right? And I think if you're somebody that really struggles with trying to find ways to exercise and stay healthy and all of those kind of things, I think there's a big part of it that the reason it's so difficult is because you're trying to do it by yourself. Like there's something special about being able to go and hang out with people that you like and get the exercise that your body is desperately craving and needing for all of these different reasons. Like you just got done describing some, right? So I think it's beautiful. I think it's amazing. It's one of the, like, again, it's like, it's on our path for a reason. Universe is like, oh, this is going to help you guys heal. This is going to help you put some pieces together. This is going to help kind of like it's a missing piece, right? The physical health of our bodies is another added thing that we're going to continually need if we want to continue this journey of healing for, the next 50, 60 years. And I think it's great. Like, I'm so happy. I'm so grateful for it.
Yeah, me too.
I think it's awesome that you're turning into a morning person as well.
I know it definitely benefits you, morning person. I'm like, it would be great if I could sleep in and then just stay up like at night. I definitely like to allow my body to tell me when it wants to go to sleep. But then it's, I don't know. I wake up at night naturally, but now it's shifting. And so now I'm somehow waking up naturally in the morning. It was hard.
Sounds like a circadian rhythm.
Right? Oh, yeah. So starting to get a circadian rhythm.
Sounds like a circadian rhythm. Sounds like a cicada. People weren't present for that conversation in our
They're like,
car
what
yesterday.
Just happened? What just happened?
There's cicadas in Tennessee.
Yeah.
Which is something that we've never experienced before. And they're pretty fun most of the time. They're loud.
Yeah.
As fuck.
They're really loud. I read somewhere that said they're so loud that they could actually drown out a chainsaw.
I believe it.
And I was like, that fits. They're loud.
Yeah.
I remember our first year here. This is like the worst year. This is the year where all the cicada stars
apocalypse.
Align and the 13 and 17 year hatchers all coincided with the same year. So we have this like massive amount. But still, we would be outside because we're out in the woody area and be like, why are they so loud? What is happening? It was intense at first, but now it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we still can't figure out how to say the word. It's a hard word.
It's cicada.
I know it's cicada.
Then you did it. You did it. And as for like the working out, when I'm having fun working out too. Like the gym is still something that is hard for me to get to. It's not hard for me to go to pickleball, which is funny. I'm like, let's go.
Right.
I want to go. The gym is still hard to get to, but I like going and I like doing the weights. I kind of like doing the weights by myself. So there is that, that little bit of, but it feels better now when I do work out in other ways. It's not my preferred method, but it is something that I can easier do something that's healthier for me because I'm finding joy in these other areas. As before, it was just like, this is so hard.
It's too hard.
This is so hard.
So teenage Craig getting the opportunity to do some healing work through the path of pickleball is one of those things that I did not see coming. And I don't know where to start with it because, again, it's like I grew up playing tennis with my friends, and I had a core group of guys that were like my best friends growing up through high school and everything like that. And we happened to play tennis together. But when I got into high school, prior to high school, I was playing baseball. I grew up playing baseball, and I thought that I was a baseball player. And then I had a decision to make when I was in high school, because baseball and tennis are during the same time of year. They're both spring sports. And so I had to decide if I was going to play tennis or I was going to play baseball. And that group of guys that I was friends with, they all decided that they were going to be playing tennis, so they were going that route. And I did have other friends that were playing baseball, but I was stuck between this, this little limbo period. So I chose to go towards tennis. And it was really hard for me at the time because, like I said earlier, it was kind of like an identity thing where I had so much, and how much identity did I have wrapped up in baseball when I was 14? Not a ton, but in my brain I did, right? It was what my brothers played. It was our favorite sport as a family. So there was this kind of thing where it was me choosing to do something different, like going against the grain of what my family had done to some extent. Like there's a layer of that in there where it was like me doing something that I wanted to do rather than just going along with what normally we would do, right? My oldest brother played baseball in high school. So it was kind of like a path in a sense that I was walking, and then I had to choose a different path, which was tennis.
We just wanted to take a moment and hit pause on this episode and thank you so much for listening. We have a goal of reaching over 1 million people, and we need your help to do it. If you could take a moment, go to YouTube, search out Steph and Craig, and hit subscribe, that would help us a lot. Also, if you shared the podcast, maybe even this episode, that would help us reach our goal. And while you're there, check out all our other episodes and the many, many clips that we have. Again, thank you for your support. Thank you for being here. And we believe that healing is possible when we all do it together. And now, back to the episode.
Now, on the surface, that doesn't really seem like a big deal. That just seems like a decision that a teenager had to make, right? But I've been thinking about that. What do you keep raising your eyebrows?
Because I'm just hearing this for the first time. What a healing thing that was for you. And just seeing how it's coming back. I want you to keep saying it. You're like, on the surface, it doesn't seem like that big of a deal. I'm like, yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Well, what stands out to you? Because maybe you can help me fully flesh some of this stuff out. Because that's the other thing is, like, we talked about this the other day where I'm recognizing a lot of these things that are coming up for me. But I think I was so emotionally, I don't even know if I don't want to say, like, when I think about the teenage years of my life, that time period in high school, it feels so crazy town. It just feels like one thing to the next. Like I never knew what was coming. I was just, always trying to find where I fit in, always trying to find where I was accepted. And I was trying to just go towards whatever that was, whatever group of friends or whatever activity or whatever sport or whatever thing. Where was I going to fit? Where was I going to find my niche? And because of that, I don't feel like I was super connected to what I really wanted, what I really felt, what I was really experiencing, what I was really, it was just such a chaotic time period. But at the same time, I don't think it was bad necessarily. I think that's just kind of life. I think that's just kind of what it's like to be a teenager, because it's a really, really hard time in life. So help me understand a little bit more when you think about it, like what stands out to you, just that alone, that decision to go against what, had been done previously, or maybe even what was expected of me.
Okay. we'll just look for a second. You're using the words go against
Mm-hmm.
when you're talking about choosing something for you, choosing something that you wanted to do, choosing something that you felt right, choosing something that you were drawn to, choosing people that you were drawn to, choosing something for you is meant going against family, against what was expected of you, against what you were supposed to do. So somehow there was no individuality. There was no Craig. There was only like the family unit. There was
Yeah.
only this. There was, and so was it like this, like I mean, you loved baseball
Yeah.
and that was there, but it felt, even though you loved it, it felt like almost like that conformity, because you would have been going with then. If you would have played, you would have been going with. So you had to go against to find something that felt good for you. So in a way, like it came in and like there was this liberation moment. And that is a part about being a teenager, right? There is that part of where things are hard is because you're figuring out who you are. And sometimes you have family units that are supportive of that. And sometimes you have experiences where it's a little different. But if we were to look at you choosing to play tennis, you choosing this thing where you don't really know where you fit, you don't really know what your niche is, but you made a choice and your description is going against. So what does that bring up?
Well, going against like my family does not feel safe. Those words, you framing it around those words, I guess those words kind of stood out to you, I suppose, right?
Yes.
That happens quite often when we're talking, where one of us will say some words and we'll be like, what's that?
Mm-hmm.
That going against, I don't know, babe. I don't know what it necessarily brings up. I can see, like, if I take that framework of going against something, part of me also thinks that it's sad that I felt like I had to go against something, right?
That's fine there.
Yeah, that it wasn't something that I felt supported in, that it wasn't something that I felt, just supported in, that it was something that I had to choose. I don't know. I don't like the way that feels when I sit in that feeling. And I can see how it parallels present moment life, where it's not to say like pickleball's going against anything, but I'm very much in a phase of my life right now where it feels like I'm going against something, whether it's, I think it's this program of what life is supposed to be. What were you going to say?
What's that? What is life supposed to be?
Well, if we
What
look
is
at
that thing?
if we look at the life that we're living right now,
Mm-hmm.
it looks very different than we thought our life would look like at this stage of our life, right?
Mm-hmm.
We didn't think that we would be in our mid 40s, living in Tennessee, producing a podcast, creating content, living our life the way that we're living. That did not look like what we had in store for us. That's not what we had planned. That's not a normal trajectory that we were like moving towards. It feels very much going against the grain of life, society, programming, what you're supposed to be doing, right? We should definitely both be fully employed somewhere with a 9-to-5 job. Truthfully, not even a job, but some career that we're getting ready to, retire from or something like that. I don't
And then
even
just
know.
dreaming about living this life that we're living now, just dreaming about it.
Yeah, so there's a part of it that feels like I'm choosing to do the things that I want to do, which is really hard.
Yeah.
And when I was a kid, when I was a teenager, I don't know if it was necessarily like I was choosing to do the thing. I guess it's the other part that kind of stood out to me when I was talking about it was conformity and feeling like I needed to fit in. I mean, that was a big chunk of what the decision was, where it was like I wanted to hang out with those friends. I wanted to still have that friend group maintained. And I knew that if I went and played tennis, then I was going to lose that friend group to a certain extent. It's not to say we weren't going to be friends anymore, but I mean, sports take up a ton of time, before and after school and all those kind of things. And I wanted to be in that crowd still. I still wanted to have those friends. I still wanted to be a part of that group. And I knew that I would be missing out. And so making decisions based around the actions of other people rather than just making decisions around what I want and what I want to do. And that is something that is really, really new for me. It is still something that I struggle with today because a lot of my decision making will be made around you and what you want to do, or what, like the metaphoric we, meaning you and I, want to do in a sense, or where we're heading, right? That it's not often that I think about what I actually want to do first. And so that's an interesting thing where I think you said it on the other episode or whatever, right? I think you said it on an earlier episode of the podcast where it was like, I was going to be playing pickleball whether you were or not. And the reality is I probably would have. I probably would have with a lot of guilt. I probably would have with way less excitement, or do you know what I mean? But I'm also grateful that you support me in choosing to do things that I want to do, merely for the fact that I want to do them. And I don't think I've ever had that type of support before. I think that growing up and previous relationships and all those other kind of things where support was often given with caveats or with other things, right? Warnings or ultimatums or all sorts of different things. So being able to just be at a phase of my life where I get to make decisions about what I want to do and how I want to do those things, it feels really scary because I'm learning that I have to trust myself, and I haven't always been trustworthy, if that makes sense, right? I haven't always trusted myself. And it also feels really exciting to be able to make decisions based off of just what I want to do. I like that. I don't know how that relates to pickleball, but I think it's interesting because like other stuff that comes up for me when I think about it through the lens of like teenage Craig, there's a part of like being on a court, swinging something, like the act of playing pickleball, it's body memory. Like my body is literally like, I know exactly what to do here. I know exactly how to act. I know exactly how to, like it's so ingrained in, because I played so much when I was younger that it's really throwing me for a loop because my body, it's hurting in the same places. My knee is hurting the same way that it used to hurt when I played tennis. I had a really bad injury when I was a kid in tennis where I tore my knee and kind of blew out my knee. And that same knee now is hurting. And I'm wondering why. I mean, I know why my knee hurts from one standpoint, right? But I'm also trying to understand it from a deeper layer of what was taking place for me during that point of my life where my knee got hurt, and how is this an opportunity to heal it today? Not just the physical knee, but the wound that took place back when I was a teenager when it got hurt. And I can't see all of that yet.
You don't have to have the answers.
Do you know
The
what I
fact that
mean?
you're asking that question, what took place, what is happening, and like, how is this an opportunity to heal that now? You're seeing you don't have to have the answer right now. You don't have to have all the answers. You don't have to know how to fix it. You don't have to solve it. You don't have to have everything figured out and laid out. And like right now, you can just be curious in the question. How is this an opportunity? How is it an opportunity, Craig? How is this an opportunity for you to heal that and just feel what that feels like?
Yeah, it feels like a lot of what took place during those teenage years for me. Like I said, I feel disconnected from it.
Okay.
It doesn't feel, I have a ton of memories. It's not like I have blank spots, right? I have a ton of memories of fun things, good experiences, all of that kind of stuff. And maybe that's what, is important.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the thing that I need to remember is there's a big chunk of that time period of my life that I'm really grateful for. I had a lot of great times. I had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun playing tennis with my friends. I had a lot of fun in all of those experiences. And maybe that this is a thing that it's not a problem that I have, but it's kind of a problem that I have where it's hard for me to not look for darker, deeper sides of things.
Mm-hmm.
It's hard for me to not be like, okay, what's the shadow part of this? What is the trauma-based part of this? What is something, I'm always trying to peel back the layer to see the truth underneath things, but I'm oftentimes looking for the heavier side, the darker side, instead of sometimes I think the truth of what I'm peeling back is like, hey, maybe that was just a really like a joyful time of your life. Maybe that was just a period of your life where you were really happy and getting to experience new things and try new things and do new things and have this kind of like opportunity to be, to figure out who I am. And maybe that's what's being reflected for me. And that honestly seems scarier than trauma. Like part of me is like, I'm sure there's something in there. I'm sure there's some painful moment. And there is, I've got experiences in high school and different things like that. But so many years of processing and work that we've done and that I've done has been looking at all that dark stuff. And I'm pretty familiar with the dark stuff from high school. But to think about all the joyful things and be like, maybe I'm moving into a phase of my life now where I get to just experience a whole bunch of joy and a whole bunch of excitement and a whole bunch of new things and new friends and new experiences. And maybe it comes through this avenue of pickleball. And maybe it has nothing to do with it. It's just an activity that I enjoy doing. I don't know. What do you think?
I don't think you have to minimize it. I think it's an activity that you enjoy doing. And I love that you're seeing that maybe this is a time of your life where you're allowing the healthy things in. You're allowing the good things in. You're allowing yourself to be happy. And you're like, is this, figuring out how to be happy, figuring out like, is it okay? And I just want to you're not going against anybody or anything. You're not causing any harm. There's no sacrifice. You're not doing anything wrong. If I decide that I hate pickleball and I can never play again, you're not going against me by playing. You're not going against anybody by finding things that are making you happy, that are making you healthy, that are bringing you joy, that you're just excited about, that you're passionate about, going towards the things that feel good, going towards the things that are fueling you, that are healthy for you is a beautiful thing. You're not going against anything or anyone.
And I don't have to explain any of that.
You don't have to explain a damn thing. No, you don't have to explain any of that.
I don't have to justify
Not
any
a
of
thing.
those things.
Exactly.
Well, that's a big thing, babe.
Yeah.
That'll be a big part of this time period for me to sit and think about and process. Because I can definitely feel the thing where it's almost like I have to justify the decisions that I make in my life that make me happy.
Yeah. And you have to it has to be hard some way, because there's that way that the way I see it.
Yeah.
Is the only way you can really allow happiness is if you are suffering somehow, if you're punishing yourself in some way. So if you're doing something wrong, if there's something dark here, if there's something hard for you, then it's okay, because that, you know how to feel. But just to allow something to be okay and be good and be about you in a healthy way is do you deserve that?
I for sure deserve that.
One more time.
Can I receive that? Can I? I do deserve that.
It's yours.
Yeah.
Whether you receive it or not, that's up to you on that, but it's yours.
It's so interesting to think about like joy in opposition to sadness, where it's like the only way. This is really interesting. This is bringing up a lot. I'm afraid now because so much is happening inside of me and in my thoughts and in my heart and in my emotions. I'm like, oh, we're touching upon something. And I have no idea if it makes any sense to the people that are listening.
That's okay.
But it's like...
You don't have to explain yourself or justify yourself.
Yeah. There's something here where it's the recognition that, oh, I can actually just be really happy. Yeah. And I don't have to have... Yeah, it feels like if I'm happy, then I'm taking away something from somebody else. I'm taking away happiness from somebody else. If I'm joyful, if I'm living the life that I want to be living right now, then somebody else is suffering. Yeah. And that is a little wonky. That's strange. That's codependency. That's garbage from the past. That's some other stuff, right?
I heard a perspective recently, and I don't know if it would help you to hear it. Are you open to hearing it?
Yeah.
And because it's a thing, it's a feeling. If I have this, then somebody else doesn't. Mm-hmm. If I have money, if I have happiness, if things are going well for me, then that means somebody else isn't. And the perspective that came was like, how does that fit? Like, if you find yourself healthy, right? You're like, oh, I'm healthy, so I'm taking away from somebody else. I should be less healthy. I should be less like I'm like, there's too much. I'm doing too good here. So it's been a great day, and that's definitely taken from somebody else. How would that fit with, like, you haven't had a cold, so chances are everybody out there is getting Craig's colds because Craig didn't get the cold. So that's really selfish of you to not get those colds, and now other people have to get the colds. Kind of.
Yeah, I see that.
There's that for me. I don't know if it's going to hit the same. I hope it does. Otherwise, you're just like, what the fuck? But for me, that hit in a way of like, oh, I somehow got the program that if I got something, and it wasn't somehow, like I was told also, right, if I got something, then it cost somebody else something. And if I wanted something, then I was being selfish. If there was times when I was happy, I was like, yo, you're just happy, aren't you? Like, I was like, happy was something that was thrown. So I learned, if I'm happy, I'm hurting somebody and I'm being selfish. If something is for me, I'm definitely taking away. It was meant for somebody else. It was never meant for me. I don't deserve to be happy. I don't deserve to have this. It was meant for somebody else. And that is that program that just sticks and sticks and sticks to where you don't know how to accept it. You don't know how to release. And the only time that you can be happy is if you have to actually find something wrong with it. Because otherwise, you're wrong, you're foolish, you're taking from somebody else, you're hurting somebody else. I resonate with all of those things deeply, deeply. And also see how
it's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
It's bullshit.
It's bullshit. Even if my body still believes it and it takes time to unlearn it, it's bullshit.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that. That means a lot. Like, I can feel I have resistance to it, which means it's touching upon something that I get super curious about, and I'm grateful for that. We'll see. The healing power of pickleball. Right?
The healing power of pickleball.
Yeah, we'll see. Go find a pickleball court. It's blowing up across the country. Right? Everybody's playing pickleball. Didn't you hear? Everybody's playing pickleball right now. So if you're not, you should go play some pickleball. No, I think it's like the importance of getting outside, all the things that we all know that we're supposed to be doing. And this is what we're doing right now in our phase of healing. And I'm so excited to see where it goes and how it continues and all the other things that we keep finding to fill ourselves up with joy and happiness. Yeah.
I'm going to allow you space while you go through things. And I'm not going to jump in and like try and like fix anything. Like, you get to go through it. And I'm going to champion the fuck out of you. Like, I'm going to encourage you and motivate you and just give you so much love of when you find something that it feels good, when you find joy and happiness, to just like go in that direction, stoke your fire. You know, like you deserve to be happy. You deserve to be happy.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to another episode of the Steph and Craig Show. And if you haven't yet, go follow us online. I don't know why I say online. Go follow us on YouTube and subscribe to the YouTube channel and share this podcast with somebody that you might find or that you might think it will benefit from it as well. We have a big mission with the podcast, and we're trying to reach as many people as possible. We want to get that goal of reaching 1 million people on YouTube. So if you haven't yet, go subscribe to us and do the whole notification thing and all of that kind of stuff. And then come follow us on social as well, because we have way more fun on like Instagram and TikTok. And I'm excited because we're kind of goofy.
Yeah.
Right. If you haven't noticed that yet. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in and sticking with us. Expect the best.
Plan for the greatest.
We'll see everybody.
Chasing got a wild ride. Wait and see, you and me. We were meant to be.
We want to make something perfectly clear. This podcast is intended for entertainment and educational purposes only. It is not intended to be used as a substitute for professional advice. We're sharing with you our own personal experiences and insights, things we have found to be helpful on our healing journey. But we are not licensed therapists. If you need help, it's important to seek out a qualified professional. Remember, we believe that we all do better when we heal together. See you soon.